Life has a way of testing you when you least expect it. One day, everything feels under control, and the next, you're staring at a problem that shakes your world. It could be losing a job you depended on, receiving bad news from a doctor, or watching a relationship fall apart. In those moments, your mind is pulled in two directions. You can sink into the weight of the problem, replaying it until it consumes you, or you can make a decision to rise above it and focus on what you can do next. The truth is, you can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. And your response will either trap you in the problem or lead you toward the solution. The problem with focusing on the problem is that it multiplies. The more attention you give it, the bigger it feels and the heavier it becomes. You replay conversations, regret decisions, and let your energy drain away. But when you focus on the solution, something incredible happens. You start to see possibilities where you once saw dead ends. You open doors in your mind that you didn't even know existed. This is the difference between those who stay stuck and those who move forward. The people who thrive in life are not the ones who never face problems. They are the ones who refuse to let problems dictate their destiny. Imagine two people facing the exact same setback. Both are fired from their jobs on the same day. One spends weeks complaining, blaming their boss, and reliving the moment they were let go. The other updates their resume, makes calls, applies for opportunities, and learns new skills. Months later, one is still bitter and the other is thriving in a new position. The difference wasn't the size of the problem, it was the size of their focus on the solution. History is full of proof. When Apollo 13 suffered an explosion in space, NASA engineers didn't sit around lamenting the failure. They worked relentlessly, using whatever they had on hand to bring the astronauts home safely. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, but he didn't let that time break him. He used it to prepare himself mentally, emotionally, and strategically for the leadership role he would one day take. These examples remind us that the greatest breakthroughs happen when people choose to look forward, not backward. Right now, you might be dealing with challenges that seem overwhelming: financial struggles, health concerns, relationship problems, or a career setback. I'm not here to tell you those challenges aren't real or painful. They are, but focusing on them will only deepen the wound. Solutions, on the other hand, are like light in the darkness. They guide you out of the struggle and into a better future. The key is to train your mind to shift from asking, "Why me?" to "What's next?" Because the moment you change the question, you change the direction of your life. In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 powerful strategies that will help you stop feeding the problem and start feeding the solution. These strategies will give you the tools to think clearly under pressure, act decisively, and turn setbacks into stepping stones. No matter where you are right now or what challenge you're facing, these steps will help you take control, reclaim your energy, and start building momentum toward the life you want. The choice is always yours. Stay stuck in the problem or start building the solution. Today, we choose the solution. Strategy 1. Control your mindset. Every solution starts in the same place, your mind. Before you can fix anything in your life, you have to control the way you think about it. The truth is, the way you interpret a problem will determine whether you feel powerless or powerful. Two people can face the same situation, but one sees it as the end of the road, while the other sees it as a detour towards something better. The difference is not the problem, it's the mindset. If you tell yourself, "This is hopeless," you've already closed the door to finding a solution. But if you tell yourself, "There must be a way forward," you force your brain to start searching for possibilities. The mind works like a spotlight. It lights up whatever you focus on. If you keep shining that light on the problem, all you'll see is darkness, frustration, and limitations. But if you shift the light towards solutions, you start noticing opportunities you didn't see before. It's not magic. It's psychology. Your brain is wired to find answers to the questions you ask it. If your questions are negative, your answers will be negative. If your questions are constructive, your answers will point you toward action. This is why the first step to solving any challenge is to shift from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What can I do about it right now?" A controlled mindset doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you face reality without letting it control your emotions. When something goes wrong, your first reaction might be fear, anger, or disappointment. That's human. But staying in that emotional state will only make the problem feel bigger. You have to step back, breathe, and see the situation from a problem solver's perspective. Think of it like a firefighter arriving at a burning building. They don't waste time screaming about the flames. They immediately look for ways to put them out. One of the most powerful tools for controlling your mindset is reframing. Reframing means looking at the same situation through a different lens. Instead of saying, "This is a disaster," you might say, "This is a challenge that will make me stronger." Instead of, "I can't believe this happened," you might say, "Now I have a chance to prove I can handle it." This doesn't magically erase the problem, but it changes how you approach it. And that changes everything. Controlling your mindset also means protecting it. You can't think clearly if you're surrounded by negativity, whether that's negative people, negative news, or negative self-talk. You need to feed your mind with motivation, hope, and possibility. Read inspiring stories. Listen to empowering voices. Spend time with people who believe in solutions, not excuses. The more you protect your mental space, the easier it becomes to stay in problem-solving mode. At the end of the day, every solution is born in the mind before it becomes reality. If you can control your thoughts, you can control your actions. And if you can control your actions, you can control your outcome. A problem might be outside your control, but your mindset never is. Train it, protect it, and aim it towards solutions, and you'll be unstoppable. Strategy 2. Break the problem into smaller pieces. When a problem feels overwhelming, it's often because you're looking at it as one massive, impossible mountain. You see the whole thing at once, and your brain instantly goes into panic mode, telling you it's too big, too complicated, too far gone. But here's the secret. No mountain is climbed in a single leap. Every mountain is conquered step by step, and every big problem can be solved piece by piece. The mistake most people make is trying to tackle the whole thing at once. They look at the scale of the issue and become paralyzed, doing nothing at all. The solution is to break it down into smaller, manageable parts and take them on one at a time. Think of a giant puzzle with 1,000 pieces. If you dump all the pieces on the table and try to solve it in one move, you'll get frustrated and quit. But if you start by finding the corner pieces, then the edges, then connecting small sections, you make steady progress until the whole picture comes together. Problems work the same way. By identifying smaller, solvable parts of the challenge, you give yourself clear targets, quick wins, and the momentum to keep going. The first step in breaking a problem down is to define it clearly. Write it out in detail so you can see exactly what you're dealing with. Then, separate it into smaller categories. If it's a financial problem, maybe the pieces are cutting unnecessary expenses, finding new income streams, and paying off small debts first. If it's a business setback, the pieces might be understanding what went wrong, improving the product, and reaching out to new customers. The clearer the pieces, the easier it becomes to work on them one by one. Breaking a problem into smaller steps also reduces the emotional weight you carry. Big, undefined problems cause stress and panic. Small, defined tasks feel doable. Instead of saying, "I need to completely change my life," you can say, "Today I will update my resume," or "Today I will make 3 phone calls." These are actions you can complete, and every completed action brings you closer to the solution. Another benefit of this approach is that it gives you small victories along the way. Every time you solve one piece of the puzzle, you get a boost of confidence and motivation to tackle the next. It's like climbing a mountain and reaching small checkpoints. You see progress, and that keeps you moving forward. Without these smaller wins, it's easy to lose hope before you reach the top. Remember, big problems are nothing more than a collection of smaller ones. The most effective problem solvers in the world, from engineers to doctors to entrepreneurs, use this exact strategy. They don't waste energy trying to solve everything at once. They focus on one piece, fix it, then move to the next. So the next time you're staring at a problem that feels too big, don't ask, how will I fix all of this? Ask, what's the first small step I can take right now? Because once you take that first step, the second step becomes easier. And step by step, piece by piece, the mountain that once scared you will simply become the path you walked to victory. Strategy 33. Ask better questions. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your solutions. When most people face a problem, they instinctively ask questions like, why is this happening to me? Or, who's to blame? These questions trap you in the past. They keep your mind stuck in the problem instead of moving it toward the solution. If you want to solve challenges faster and with less stress, you need to train yourself to ask better, more constructive questions, the kind that shift your brain into problem-solving mode. Your brain is like a search engine. It will find answers to whatever question you type in. If you type in a negative question, it will return negative answers. If you ask, why am I always unlucky? Your brain will list every unlucky event you've ever experienced, and you'll feel worse. But if you ask, what's one thing I can do right now to make this situation better? Your brain will immediately start looking for solutions. It's not magic. It's simply how human thinking works. The direction of your focus follows the direction of your questions. This approach has been used by some of the most successful problem solvers in history. When Thomas Edison was working on his inventions, he didn't ask, why isn't this working? He asked, what can I try next that I haven't tried before? That shift in questioning kept him moving forward instead of getting stuck. In sports, great coaches don't ask, why are we losing? They ask, what change can we make right now to turn the game around? It's the same principle in business, relationships, and personal growth. Better questions are specific, forward-focused, and actionable. Instead of, why is my business failing? You might ask, which area of my business needs improvement right now? Instead of, why is my relationship falling apart? Ask, what can I do today to improve our communication? These questions point toward immediate action instead of endless rumination. It's also important to ask solution-oriented questions in the heat of the moment. When you feel stress rising, pause and ask, what is within my control right now? The simple question cuts through the chaos and focuses your attention on what you can influence. Another powerful one is, if someone I admire were in my shoes, what would they do next? This gives you a fresh perspective and helps you think beyond your current limitations. Over time, asking better questions becomes a habit. Your brain learns to automatically scan for solutions instead of problems. You stop wasting energy, blaming, regretting, or wishing things were different, and you start using that energy to create change. That's how leaders operate. They don't dwell on what went wrong, they get curious about how to make it right. So the next time you face a challenge, remember, the problem isn't the problem. The problem is the way you're framing it in your mind. Change your questions, and you'll change the answers. Change the answers, and you'll change your life. Strategy 4. Take immediate action. Once you've controlled your mindset, broken the problem into smaller parts, and asked better questions, there comes a point where thinking is no longer enough. You must act. Too many people stay trapped in analysis paralysis, overthinking every detail, waiting for the perfect plan or the perfect time. The problem with this is simple. The longer you wait to take action, the heavier the problem becomes. Action is the antidote to fear, and movement creates momentum. Even a small step can shift your energy from feeling powerless to feeling in control. When a problem arises, the worst thing you can do is freeze. Think of a fire in a kitchen. If you stand there, debating the best way to put it out, the flames will spread. But if you grab a fire extinguisher and take immediate action, you might contain it before it destroys everything. Life's problems work the same way. The faster you take a step toward the solution, the easier it becomes to prevent the problem from growing. Taking immediate action doesn't mean rushing blindly without thought. It means identifying the first practical step and doing it now. If your finances are falling apart, your immediate action might be creating a basic budget today. If your health is declining, it might be scheduling a doctor's appointment right now. If you've had a conflict with someone, it might be sending a message to open the door for a conversation. The key is to act on something within your control today, not tomorrow, not when the time is right. Action also has a psychological effect. It breaks the cycle of fear and procrastination. When you move, your brain registers progress. Even if it's small progress, it triggers motivation to keep going. Think of pushing a car stuck in the mud. The hardest part is the first push, but once the wheels start turning, momentum takes over. Many people fail to solve problems because they never get past that initial push. They wait for clarity before moving, but clarity often comes because you start moving. History shows us countless examples of immediate action changing the outcome. When Captain Chesley, Sully Sullenberger's plane, lost both engines after hitting a flock of birds, he had seconds to decide what to do. He didn't waste time thinking about what went wrong. He acted, landing the plane safely on the Hudson River and saving every passenger. That is the power of decisive, immediate action. No matter how big your problem feels, there is always a step you can take today to move toward a solution. It might not solve everything instantly, but it will get you out of the mental quicksand and onto solid ground. Action transforms you from a passive observer of your life to an active creator of your future. The sooner you act, the sooner the problem begins to shrink. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Start with what you have, where you are, right now. Strategy 5. Focus on what you can control. One of the biggest reasons people feel stuck in a problem is because they spend their energy on things they can't control. They replay what happened, wish it hadn't, or imagine what could have been if circumstances were different. This mental loop drains your strength, because no amount of thinking can change the past or force the world to work exactly as you want. The fastest way to reclaim your power is to shift your attention to what you can control. Your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, and your next step. Every problem has two zones, the zone of control and the zone of no control. The zone of no control contains things like the weather, other people's decisions, the economy, or events that have already happened. The zone of control contains your reactions, your habits, your skills, your effort, and the way you respond in the moment. The more time you spend in the zone of no control, the more powerless you'll feel. The more you operate in your zone of control, the more progress you'll make toward a solution. Imagine being caught in a storm at sea. You can't control the waves or the wind, but you can control your sails and your steering. A skilled sailor focuses on adjusting the sails, not yelling at the wind. Life's challenges are no different. You can't stop every storm, but you can position yourself to get through it. The problem is, most people waste precious time shouting at the wind instead of steering the ship. This principle is especially important in emotional situations. If someone treats you unfairly, you can't control their behavior, but you can control whether you hold on to anger or choose to move forward. If a job is lost, you can't control that it happened, but you can control how quickly you start looking for new opportunities. When you focus on controllable actions, you replace helplessness with empowerment. One of the best exercises for this is the control filter. The moment you face a problem, ask yourself, which parts of this situation are within my control and which are not? Write them down in 2 columns if you need to. Then commit to only spending energy on the first column. This simple habit forces you to channel your effort into areas that actually move you forward, instead of wasting time on what's unchangeable. Focusing on what you can control is not about ignoring reality, it's about being strategic with your energy. It's about refusing to hand over your emotional well-being to circumstances you can't change. This shift in focus makes you calmer, more effective, and more resilient. And when you consistently work within your zone of control, you'll notice something powerful. The problems that once felt massive begin to shrink, and solutions begin to appear. Strategy 6. Learn from the problem. Every problem carries a lesson, and if you miss the lesson, you risk repeating the same mistake. Too often, people treat problems like enemies to be avoided or erased, when in reality, they can be some of our greatest teachers. The truth is, you rarely grow during the smooth times. You grow when you're challenged, tested, and pushed to think differently. If you only focus on fixing the problem without asking what it's trying to teach you, you may solve the short-term issue but miss the long-term transformation. When you face a challenge, take a step back and ask, what can I learn from this? This question transforms the problem from a burden into an instructor. If a business venture fails, maybe the lesson is about better planning, understanding your market, or managing risk. If a relationship ends, maybe the lesson is about communication, boundaries, or self-worth. Every difficulty contains information about what to do differently next time, if you're willing to look for it. Think about inventors, athletes, or entrepreneurs who achieved greatness. Almost all of them failed multiple times before finding success. The difference is that they didn't treat failure as the final chapter. They treated it as feedback. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, was cut from his high school team. Instead of giving up, he learned from the experience, worked harder, and used the rejection as fuel to become better. Problems, in the right mindset, can sharpen you like that. Learning from problems also requires honesty. You have to be willing to admit your part in the situation, even if other factors were involved. This isn't about blame, it's about responsibility. If you lost a job, maybe the company's decision wasn't fair, but perhaps you could have built stronger skills or relationships to increase your security. If you struggled financially, external circumstances may have played a role, but maybe there were spending habits you could improve. Owning your part means you have the power to change it in the future. It's also important to record the lessons you learn. Write them down, reflect on them, and revisit them often. Over time, this creates a personal playbook of solutions you can draw from when new challenges appear. The more you learn from each problem, the better equipped you become to handle the next one, and the faster you'll find the solution. Here's the truth. Life will never stop throwing challenges your way. But if you choose to learn from each one, you will not only survive your problems, you will evolve because of them. Problems will stop feeling like walls and start feeling like stepping stones. Every challenge you face can either break you or build you, and the lesson you take from it determines which one it will be. Strategy 7. Seek help and collaborate. One of the biggest mistakes people make when facing a problem is thinking they have to solve it alone. Pride, fear of judgment, or the belief that asking for help makes you weak keeps many people stuck far longer than necessary. But the truth is, seeking help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. The most successful people in the world are not those who do everything themselves, but those who know how to use the strengths, knowledge, and resources of others to reach their goals faster. When you face a challenge, there's a high chance someone else has already overcome something similar. By reaching out, you can tap into their experience and avoid wasting time on trial and error. If you're struggling in business, seek advice from a mentor who's been where you are. If you're going through a personal challenge, talk to someone you trust who can offer perspective and support. Sometimes the solution you've been searching for has already been discovered. You just have to connect with the person who holds it. Collaboration also brings fresh perspectives. When you're too close to a problem, your thinking can become limited. You might be so focused on one angle that you miss other possibilities. Bringing in another set of eyes, whether from a friend, coworker, or professional, can open doors you didn't even know existed. Many breakthroughs in science, technology, and business have come from teams working together, each person contributing their unique strengths. Seeking help also lightens the emotional load. When you share your struggle, you release some of the weight you've been carrying alone. Talking things through can bring clarity even before a solution is found. Often, the act of expressing your challenge out loud forces you to structure your thoughts, and in doing so, you might see the next step more clearly. The key is to seek the right help. Not everyone will give you constructive advice, and not everyone is equipped to help in your specific situation. Be selective about who you open up to. Look for people who are experienced, trustworthy, and genuinely want the best for you. Also, be willing to listen with an open mind. Sometimes, solutions come from unexpected places, and if you're too rigid in your thinking, you might miss them. Collaboration doesn't just help solve problems, it also builds connections. When you involve others in finding a solution, you strengthen relationships, create mutual trust, and develop a network that you can both rely on and contribute to in the future. Remember, no one climbs a mountain entirely alone. Even solo climbers rely on guides, maps, and the work of those who came before them. Your life's challenges are no different. The sooner you let go of the idea that you have to carry everything yourself, the sooner you'll realize how much faster, stronger, and smarter you can move when you allow others to help you. Strategy 8. Stay persistent and consistent. When a problem feels overwhelming, it's easy to get discouraged and think about giving up. Most people quit, not because the problem is unsolvable, but because they stop taking action too soon. Persistence is the secret ingredient that separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. Real solutions aren't found instantly. They are built through repeated effort, determination, and a refusal to give in, no matter how hard the challenge may seem. Every small step you take compounds into progress, and over time, that progress turns into breakthroughs. Consistency is equally important. You may not see immediate results, but showing up every day, even in small ways, creates momentum. Think of a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone. One strike doesn't reveal the masterpiece, but each successive strike brings the vision closer to reality. Life works in the same way. Consistent effort against a problem gradually shapes a solution. Even tiny actions, repeated day after day, have enormous power. Persistence also builds resilience. Every time you push through difficulty, your confidence grows. You learn that obstacles are not permanent roadblocks, but temporary tests of your determination. Consider athletes or entrepreneurs. Their victories rarely come from talent alone. They come from refusing to quit after failure, learning from mistakes, and continuing to act with focus and intention. Thomas Edison, for example, didn't invent the light bulb on his first try. He failed thousands of times. Yet he persisted because he believed every failure taught him something about the solution. Consistency and persistence go hand in hand. You must act continuously while also adjusting your approach as you learn more. If one method doesn't work, tweak it to it and keep going. The moment you stop, the problem gains strength. The moment you persist, the solution gains momentum. This mindset transforms obstacles into stepping stones, Every setback becomes feedback, every small action becomes progress, and every day of consistent effort brings you closer to the outcome you desire. Finally, staying persistent is a mindset. It's the refusal to let temporary failures define you. It's the commitment to keep moving forward, even when motivation fades and the results seem invisible. Problems are temporary, but the strength you develop while solving them is permanent. Persistence turns fear into courage, hesitation into action, and challenges into victories. The solutions you seek will not come from giving up. They will come from standing firm, taking consistent steps, and refusing to quit until you reach your goal. Strategy 9. Visualize the solution. One of the most powerful tools in solving any problem is your imagination. Before you can reach a solution in reality, you must first see it clearly in your mind. Visualization isn't just daydreaming. It's a deliberate mental rehearsal that trains your brain to recognize possibilities, prepare for action, and stay focused on outcomes rather than obstacles. When you vividly picture the solution, your mind begins to align your actions, energy, and creativity toward making it real. Think of a top athlete before a major competition. They don't only practice physically, they mentally rehearse every movement, every decision, and every successful outcome. This mental practice strengthens their focus and confidence, making them more likely to perform under pressure. The same principle applies to life's problems. By visualizing the solution, you create a mental roadmap, and your brain begins to unconsciously scan for ways to bring that vision to reality. Start by imagining the ideal outcome in as much detail as possible. If you're facing a financial challenge, picture yourself debt-free, organized, and in control of your money. If you're navigating a relationship issue, imagine the moment of reconciliation, understanding, or mutual respect. Feel the emotions of success, pride, relief, confidence, and joy. This emotional connection makes your visualization more powerful and motivates you to take the steps needed to turn it into reality. Visualization also helps you overcome fear and self-doubt. When a problem feels intimidating, your mind focuses on the difficulty, creating anxiety and hesitation. But when you visualize a solution clearly, your brain begins to treat it as achievable. You start to recognize opportunities, strategies, and actions that you may have missed when focused only on the problem. It transforms uncertainty into direction. To make visualization effective, combine it with action. Imagining a solution without effort is meaningless, but imagining it while also planning your steps creates a bridge between thought and reality. Each time you visualize, ask yourself, what is one action I can take today that moves me closer to this vision? This keeps you grounded, proactive, and continuously moving forward. Remember, your mind cannot easily distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is actually experienced. By repeatedly visualizing the solution, you program your brain to expect success, build confidence, and focus your energy on actions that lead to results. Over time, what once seemed impossible begins to feel inevitable. When you train yourself to visualize solutions, problems lose their power. You begin to see challenges as temporary hurdles, not permanent roadblocks. You cultivate clarity, creativity, and courage, and your path forward becomes obvious. Visualization turns your mind into a magnet for solutions, guiding you from where you are now to where you want to be. Strategy 10. Take responsibility fully. The final and most powerful strategy in focusing on solutions is to take full responsibility for your life and your actions. Problems often feel overwhelming because we blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck. While external factors may play a role, surrendering your power to them keeps you stuck. True freedom and true problem solving comes the moment you accept complete responsibility for how you respond, for the decisions you make, and for the life you create from this point forward. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything that happens. It means recognizing that no one else controls your thoughts, your choices, or your effort. You have the ability to act, adapt, and find solutions, regardless of how difficult the situation may seem. When you accept this truth, the problem shifts from being an obstacle outside of you to being a challenge that you have the power to overcome. This mindset transforms fear into action. When you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I do now?" you reclaim control. Every decision, every step, and every effort becomes a building block towards solving the problem. Taking responsibility also increases accountability. When you hold yourself accountable, you stop waiting for others to fix things or for conditions to become perfect. You understand that your life progresses based on the choices you make today, not on what you wish had happened yesterday. Many successful people have used this principle to overcome tremendous challenges. J.K. Rowling, before publishing Harry Potter, faced rejection, financial hardship, and personal struggles. She didn't blame the world or give up. She took responsibility for her story, her effort, and her dream. Entrepreneurs, athletes, and leaders all know that taking responsibility puts the power in your hands. No matter how dire the problem seems, your choices are the leverage you need to create a solution. Taking responsibility also strengthens your confidence. When you realize that your results are determined by your actions and mindset, you feel empowered. You stop waiting for permission or external approval. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. Every problem becomes an opportunity to prove your capability, resilience, and strength. Finally, taking responsibility fosters growth. When you own both the successes and the mistakes, you learn faster, act smarter, and make better decisions in the future. You build a life where solutions are your natural focus because you understand that your actions are the bridge between challenge and success. Remember, the moment you fully accept responsibility for your life, you stop being a passenger in your own journey and start being the driver. Problems may arise, but with this mindset, every challenge becomes a stepping stone. Every obstacle becomes a lesson, and every difficulty becomes a chance to create the life you want. The solution always begins with you. Problems are inevitable. Life will challenge you, test you, and sometimes feel unfair. You will face setbacks, disappointments, failures, and obstacles that seem impossible to overcome. That is the reality we all share. But here is the truth that separates those who thrive from those who struggle. Problems do not define you. Your focus does. The moment you stop obsessing over the problem and start focusing on the solution, you reclaim your power, your direction, and your life. Solutions are not accidental. They are born from mindset, action, clarity, and responsibility. And now, after exploring 10 powerful strategies, you have a blueprint for transforming challenges into triumphs. It begins with your mindset. Everything starts in the mind. When you control your thoughts, choose optimism over fear, and see possibilities instead of barriers, you lay the foundation for every solution. Problems may appear overwhelming, but the clarity and power that come from a solution-focused mindset allow you to approach challenges strategically and confidently. Your mind is the first battlefield, and victory there ensures victory in life. Then comes the ability to break problems into smaller, manageable pieces. Big challenges feel paralyzing because we try to face them all at once. But step by step, piece by piece, the impossible becomes doable. Each small action builds momentum, and each small win builds confidence. This method not only simplifies the problem, but also fuels your motivation to continue, transforming fear into measurable progress. Asking better questions sharpens your thinking. The quality of the questions you ask determines the solutions you find. Instead of asking why this is happening, ask what you can do right now. Shift your focus from blame to possibility, from frustration to action. Your brain will automatically start scanning for answers, and suddenly, opportunities you never noticed before come into view. Action is the bridge between problem and solution. Thinking alone is never enough. Even the smallest step taken immediately creates momentum, lifts fear, and generates confidence. When you act decisively, you move from helplessness to control. Action compounds with every step, and soon the solution begins to take shape in reality. Persistence and consistency are what carry you through the hardest times. Solutions rarely appear instantly. It is the relentless, steady effort, the refusal to quit even when results are slow, that turns problems into victories. Every small, consistent step compounds into meaningful progress. Visualization makes a solution tangible. Seeing your desired outcome clearly in your mind creates a roadmap for action, trains your brain to recognize opportunities, and aligns your energy with the results you want. When you imagine success vividly, it becomes achievable, inevitable even, because your mind begins to guide your actions toward that reality. Finally, taking full responsibility ensures nothing is left to chance. Problems exist, but your response defines the outcome. Ownership of your choices, actions, and attitude puts the power entirely in your hands. When you accept responsibility fully, every challenge becomes an opportunity, every setback a lesson, and every obstacle a stepping stone toward growth and success.